Well, we're back for another installment of GrindhousePurgatory. And this time, going into the 80s, Indonesia had a huge output of films, all kinds, but several stood out, mainly horror-themed films like Mystics in Bali, which featured a severed head floating around with the whole gastrointestinal tract hanging off it. Dangerous Seductress, bunch of stuff, but one that really stood out was something really over the top called Lady Terminator. Now if you hear that crunching in the background, that's my dog laying at my feet chewing on a bone, because if I don't, she's going to be in my face. So we got to deal with the crunching noises. But anyway, Lady Terminator. Lady Terminator was really over the top, and of course it's a rip on the original Terminator, but it doesn't start out that way. You see, it starts out sort of like this queen, the South Sea Queen, a legendary figure. She's in bed with some stud, and all of a sudden, blood erupts from the crotch area, and her servants carry the guy out, and she bellows, "Can no man satisfy me?" Well, this hunky American guy shows up and pretty much does satisfy her, but does yank something out of her snatch, this eel. Obviously, the eel is this evil thing that was living in her snatch, biting off guys. Sort of like Clerks 2 with that pillow pants deal, the or something they were talking about. But anyway, the guy yanks it out and it turns into a dagger. The queen curses him through all eternity and says that she will get revenge by killing his great-granddaughter. Then the castle proceeds to sink under the sea. Now we segue to present day, and there's this anthropology student named Tanya, played by Barbara Ann Constable, a girl from Australia who was at 19 years old in the penthouse down there. So she had no trouble doing nude scenes, and she's pretty well put together. Well, she goes to this bookstore to find this ancient book, and the curator tells her that if she takes this book out and reads it, she will be putting her life in grave danger. Of course, you know she's going to take the fucking book. So she takes the book, she finds the exact location where the legend of the South Sea Queen's castle sunk, and hires this, boat captain, this crusty old skipper, to take her there. Well, he's really loath to go to that area because it said it's all kinds of bad news, but of course she's all kinds of cute and sweet in her bikini, and she gets him to do it. She goes skin diving in there, but when she dives in, the water sort of changes, and this huge wall of water, tsunami-like, crashes down on the ship in a scene that basically, if you're fucking scared of water, it's going to scare the fuck out of you. Well, she winds up at the bottom of the ocean in the castle, tied spread eagle to a bed, and that computer-generated eel zooms into her pussy. Okay, so now it winds up that this is the South Sea Island Queen possessing Tanya, and the target of her wrath will be Erica, the great-great-granddaughter of the guy who, did her in. Erica is a pop singer, and she's very over in the country, and she's going to be playing at a certain venue. She also has this little medallion or charm or something like that that her grandfather gave her. So now Tanya emerges from the sea, bare-ass naked, and there are two drunks hanging by the beach, one who takes what I would consider the longest piss in the history of Grindhouse cinema. And yeah, you do see it on camera. So of course, these two guys are drunk. Here's this naked chick. She takes one in the backseat of a car and takes him out, and then the other one out, and basically they wind up in the morgue, which is puzzling the local cops. And they mull this whole homicide thing over while they're in a bar, and they run into four CIA guys. One who's named Snake, who has the worst fucking mullet in the history of Western civilization. As a matter of fact, I'm willing to wager that that mullet got him kicked out of America and sent to Indonesia. But I digress. So anyway, Erica's doing her performance in a bar, and Tanya has now found a suitable bunch of clothing and an AK-47. Now we veer into the whole Terminator territory where she shoots up the bar, kills a bunch of people, the cops get Tanya out. Then there's the car chase scene where she's on top of the car, punches through the windshield trying to kill Tanya, but Finally they dump her off. Well, there's an old man who's been waiting for the South Sea Queen to surface. He was a friend of Tanya's grandfather. And he's waiting for them to bring Tanya to this very secure army base, which they do. And he tells Tanya to give him the charm because that charm is letting Tanya, tells Erica to give him the charm because that charm is allowing Tanya to track her. Well, Tanya hits the military base and basically slaughters everybody in her path. Bullets seem to just bounce off her or rip through her or shit because she's pretty much unscathed by the whole thing. Until she meets the old man, who basically, as long as he's holding this charm, bullets don't affect him. So what happens is he blows on the charm, and the charm hits her in the eye and basically throws her across the room. So you figure, okay, that's it. Oh no. She gets up. Somehow this charm has given her more power. She takes her AK-47 and basically shreds the old man's crotch. A lot of, seems anti for whatever reason, but anyway, the two cops and Erica escape the carnage, and Tanya goes back to some hotel room where she lives another scene from the Terminator where she's doing the do-it-yourself eye surgery for basically no apparent fucking reason. The eyeball drops into the fucking sink, it glitters a bit, she pops it back in, good as new. So, now, they don't know what to do, they're hiding out, and all of a sudden, Tanya's got a car and she's coming after them. Well, the CIA guys show up in a helicopter and basically strafe the fucking car to pieces, but she keeps on coming. They're basically blowing the shit out of her when Snake gets the bright idea to get a tank and pin her in the car against this bunch of tanks that are full of some kind of fuel or gasoline of some sort. So she's pinned against the tanks, and Snake runs out of his tank and yells, "Light her up." So they blow the thing up and there's a complete inferno, and they figure, okay, well, that's the end of Tanya. Oh, it's not, because she staggers out of the flames, all burnt to shit, scarred up, and now she can shoot death rays out of her eyes. Which she blows Snake away, no fucking great loss. She blows up, an airliner blows up, shit's blowing up all over the place. She blows up the helicopter, she kills a bunch more soldiers with her death ray, and she basically is knocked out the cop and has got Tanya cornered in a building and is choking the shit out of her when Tanya remembers that dagger and stabs her with the dagger. Well, the dagger makes her turn into this big glowing light which disappears, and the dagger hangs in the air and then twinkles off and goes. And that's how it ended. Well, that came out, I believe, in 1987, and the only reason I found out about this little gem was because I was at one of my video stops to pick up some merchandise. I don't know, if you've read my book, you'll know about Whiny Mike, who operated out of a bail bond office in Jersey City, New Jersey. Well, there was this guy in there basically trying to push Lady Terminator on VHS. I got in a conversation with him, and he told me that he actually got Lady Terminator distributed on 42nd Street. So, being that I was interested, he actually gave me the VHS tape. I took it home, watched it, and I pretty much loved the whole thing. But my question was, did this film actually play on 42nd Street? So I did some research, and yes, it debuted at the Harris in 1989. I believe it was in June. It ran at the Harris for 1 week, then went a few theaters down to Cine 42, where it was doubled up with Renegades, the Red Sun remake of the... remember the Red Sun, the Charles Bronson movie? Well, it's a remake set up more of a cops and robbers things with Kiefer Sutherland and Lou Diamond Phillips. So basically, it played there for 2 weeks and then vanished. Now, I didn't see it there, of course, because I wasn't, that was toward the waning days of whatever out there, where I was only going over to New York to pick up merchandise and do some business, so I obviously wouldn't have seen it. But I just found it interesting that here is a film when everything else that was playing there, and I'm talking like it was just 80s mainstream crap that was just double billed all over, like Ghostbusters, My Stepmother's an Alien, even The Victory, which went from showing porn to like mainstream stuff, had Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade and some other double bill thing. I mean, it was basically all mainstream pablum that was floating around, in '89, and then you had Lady Terminator. So, oddly, I would say it was probably one of the last Grindhouse-type films to run on 42nd Street. I could be wrong, but like I said, toward that end of, the decade there, I wasn't really hanging on 42nd Street that much because there really wasn't that much to fucking do anymore. So, just an interesting time capsule, and Lady Terminator is available on Mondo Macabre DVD right now. I'm hoping that somebody does a Blu-ray of it because it's one of those films that would really look great with a Blu-ray transfer. So I'm doing this on October 22nd. We're roughly only maybe a week and a half away from Halloween. And unfortunately, because of fucking COVID, it's going to be a very grim Halloween, for lack of better words. But try to celebrate it, do what I'm doing, watch a horror movie every night. Tonight will be The Creature from the Black Lagoon for me. So, until the next episode, stay safe, mask up, take care of yourselves, and we'll see you on the flip side. And if you've subscribed, I thank you. If you need anything from me merchandise-wise, feel free to contact me at GrindhousePurgatory@gmail.com. We'll see you on the flip side.